Welcome once again, my friends, and thank you for stopping by to listen to an old storyteller. Today we have a story from Greece, and the title of this story is Almondseed and Almondella. One day a poor man was passing by the weavers in his neighborhood and saw a black hen tied to the weaver's shop by a red string. When he went home, he heard his neighbor calling that her black hen had been stolen, and for pity's sake to find it. So he called to her and said, "If you give me 2 piastres, I'll show you where it is." She accepted, and he took a book and made as if he were reading in it, and then said, "I found it. It's in such and such a workshop, so run and get it." She ran and got it and gave him 2 piastres. Then his own wife said to him, "Seems it's paying work, so why not be a seer?" So he decided to be a seer and say what seers say. As he was sitting at the crossroads one day, the king's servants came by, and they asked him what child the queen would bear, girl or boy. So, not knowing what to say, he made as if he were reading in his book, and began saying over and over, "Boy, girl, boy, girl." So they got tired of listening to this, and went. It came about that when the queen gave birth, she bore a boy and a girl, twins. Then the servants remembered the seer, and told the king what he had said to them. At this time the king had been robbed of his coffer, and when he heard this about the seer, he had brought him back to the palace in triumph, with the army and bands of musicians along. The poor seer trembled with fear, but what was he to have done? How was he to know who had stolen the coffer? One day went by, then 2, then 3, and he just sat there. One evening he asked for a dish of almonds to be brought him, and shelled and ate them. Now the thieves were 3. One was outside the door and trying to see if the seer would guess right. When he had taken a fair quantity of almonds, the seer felt sleepy, and said, "The first has come." First sleep, he meant. When he heard this, the one outside was afraid. So he went and said to the others, "Listen, fellows, the seer has found us out." I went and stood outside his room. He heard and said, "The first has come." They would not believe him, so the second went and stood behind the door. The seer woke and shelled more almonds and ate them. He grew tired again and said, "The second has come." The second thief heard him and went and told the others. "He found out about me now," he said to them. "I went and listened too, and he said, 'The second has come.'" The third went to see. The wizard again awoke and shelled more almonds and ate. He grew tired again and said, "The wobbly woman's son has come." The third sleep, he meant. So he went and told the others, "That devil of a seer knows about us." So then they all went, beat on the door, and cried out to the seer, "We know you're a good wizard and know about us all 3. Only don't give us away to the king, and we'll show you where we put the coffer." They went and showed him. Many days went by. The king asked him, "Well, seer, what have you found out?" "I found out something," he said to him. "Send me a servant to do the digging." He sent him a servant, and they went and dug in the garden, brought up the coffer intact and full of gold pieces. The king was overjoyed and showered him with gifts and more gifts. And when they had eaten at midday, the king took the seer out into the garden, and as they were walking there, the king picked an almond from an almond tree and said to him, "If you're really a seer, let's see what you will say to this. What have I here in my hand?" The poor seer, whose name was Almondseed, and whose wife's name was Almondella, was terrified, and said, "Well done, Almondseed." That Almondella allowed to fall into the king's hands. The king thought he meant the almond that he held in his hand, and the almond tree it had come from, and he was very glad, and gave him a deal of gold. And he went home, and lived well, and even better. Thank you once again for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please press that like button. Also, please help an old storyteller out by subscribing to my channel. The next story will be posted in a few days, so until then, may your story continue to be a good one.